What is this place? Who are you?
It's about time. We were starting to get bored while tormenting this weak soul. Bring me to the others. I've brought you all here today to get your assignments. These files contain the 13 individuals that'll help us achieve our goals. After infiltrating the government, we secretly gathered all of this information, but there were secrets even we didn't expect to find. We have 12 of these individuals now, but the 13th still needs to be found. That day is rapidly approaching. Your jobs will be to help us secure this individual when the time comes. The key to everything lies within his mind. Now take me to the asylum so we can change vessels and finally leave this husk behind.
Nefal Vertagen, R'luh Azath, Nefal Vertagen, R'luh Azath, Nefal Vertagen, R'luh Azath.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bowl, the Rise of R'luh Azath. What an insane week 2 that was. Wild comebacks in the NFL and a lot of scoring led to some insane matchups in this league. And many of these matchups weren't decided until after Sunday night. There were several nerve-wracking plays, heart-stopping moments, game-changing twists and turns. And when the smoke cleared, there were results that mirrored the madness that is present in our season-long theme story. Of course, 2 things were already known heading into the week, that there would be 3 undefeated teams and 3 winless teams, regardless of what was going to happen. The undefeated teams would be in sole possession of first place in their divisions, and the winless teams would be scrambling to right the ship. And there were 2 expected outcomes and 1 upset based on the computer that lead to 3 teams now being in sole possession of first place. That is the multiple scoregasms, My Dark Ridge Dreamers, and Green Acres. Unfortunately for 3 teams, defending champion Remember the Titans, last year's semifinalist Uncle Justy, and last season's consolation champion, the Siamese Dreamcats, they're all 0-2 and in desperate need of a bounce back in week 3. But how did we get here? Well, we're going to begin with one of our matchups between 0-1 teams in the Game of the Week, as the elite Mother Tuckers were searching for their first career league win against the host Siamese Dreamcats at the Ship Graveyards at Beatrix Lane in the EO division. Just like last week, the home team did not come away victorious on our game of the week, but this match came down to Monday night, where the elite Mother Tuckers rode on the legs of Jalen Hurts to a 130.92 to 103.72 win. Hurts, of course, was one of 2 stars for the Mother Tuckers, finishing with 333 passing yards, 57 rushing yards, and 3 total touchdowns, including 2 on the ground. The other star, Tyreek Hill, who came away with 190 yards receiving and 2 scores in the second half of a wild game between the Dolphins and Ravens. Mark Andrews also did well with 107 yards and a score, and one of our players to watch, Tyler Lockett, did his job with 107 yards receiving. Besides Penny, the rest of the team did okay to complement the Beast games, and the Cowboys' defense added 6 sacks. For the Dreamcats, it was the Lamar Jackson and Cooper Kupp show, but the rest of the squad definitely disappointed. Jackson had 318 passing yards, an insane 119 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns for a monstrous 50-burger. Kupp did his thing with 108 yards and 2 scores, and even lost a fumble and still had over 20 points. Goddard and our player to watch, Devonta Smith, didn't do horribly, but they missed out on the end zone. Akers finally got carries, but he also was vultured on the goal line, and Elliott was vultured by Pollard. Congrats to the elite Mother Tuckers on their first career league win. It's always a fun milestone for our newcomers. For the Dreamcats, they still search for their first victory of 2022, but I feel like they've played well, so maybe it's coming soon. There were some other nail-biting matchups in this league. The other EO Division matchup between Green Acres and Risky Business was a battle for first place, and Risky Business actually came into Monday night with a small lead. But that lead went bye-bye as host Green Acres overcame benching Tua Tagovailoa with a monster game by Stephon Diggs to pull out a 102.26 to 89.5 win at the Lava Castle of Drusus. Diggs ended up with 148 yards and 3 scores. T. Higgins added 71 yards and a score, and Drake London had a nice game with 86 yards, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. Risky Business did have 23 points combined at the kicker and defense spots in his lineup, and Thomas added a touchdown. Mahomes added 2 other scores, but that was about it in a tough loss. Green Acres moves to 2-0 after starting the preseason rankings in dead last, and this win definitely comes with Tagovailoa's 6 touchdowns on his bench. Ouch. Moving on to the Europa Division, the clash at Demon Head took on last year's semifinalist Uncle Justy at the Water Volcanoes of Colbeck. And it was the visiting squad, the clash at Demon Head, coming away with a 120.08 to 75.96 win. The Bills' defense once again took a starring role for the clash at Demon Head with a touchdown, 2 sacks, 4 forced turnovers, and just 7 points allowed. The Bills' defense now has 44 points to start the year. Unlike last week, there were other nice games to go with the defense. Stafford had 3 TDs, McCaffrey had 128 yards, and Swift added 87 yards and a score. Curtis Samuel also pitched in with 99 yards and a touchdown. For Uncle Justy, it was another week of woe. Russell Wilson had just 1 touchdown, and while Jeff Wilson had 103 yards and Henderson added 47 yards and a TD, there just wasn't enough production here, including first-round pick Jamar Chase being held to just 58 yards. In the other Europa matchup, it was a battle for first place and a battle for this rivalry award, the Cash of Mentats. When my Dark Ridge Dreamers travel to take on Loki Lebowski Thor at the salt mines of Thorgard. And this was one of the wild matchups with several key plays leading the Dark Ridge Dreamers to a 109.18 to 97.76 road win over Lebowski Thor. Nick Chubb had 3 scores on 113 yards in a monster game, and Gibson also added a touchdown. Mike Williams came through with 113 yards and a score to make up for a rare dud by Justin Jefferson, and the Rams defense salvaged an underperformance with 3 sacks and 3 forced turnovers. Kyler Murray ended up being the hero with one of his 2 scores being a rushing touchdown on a scramble where he ran 84 yards. Despite it being 4th and goal with no time left, he added a 2-point conversion pass after that. For Lebowski Thor, it was the Bucs defense that kept hopes alive. 6 sacks, 5 forced turnovers, and a touchdown will definitely do that. Herbert added 3 TDs and Robinson also scored. In the end, my dreamers keep the cash of Mentats and move into sole possession of first with a 2-0 start. Moving on to the Ganymede Division, AR's Ayahuasca plant hosted defending champion Remember the Titans at the peaks of Dracos. And last week's worst team and worst coach was able to get some redemption here, knocking off the defending champs 114.36 to 92.72 for the first career league win. First win is always sweet, and for AR's Ayahuasca plant, A.A. Ron Rodgers must have brought A.A. Ron Jones to the desert this past week. Rodgers had a bounce-back game with 234 yards passing and 2 TDs. Jones was a monster with 170 yards and 2 scores. Even Montgomery came through with 136 yards, so maybe they brought him along too. Add in Jasecki's score and a solid 22 points at the kicker and defense position, and it was a fun week for the league newcomer. Remember the Titans, which falls to 0-2 after making back-to-back Green Bowls and winning it all last year, had a few nice games in his lineup. Wentz had 3 scores and 333 passing yards. Sutton added 127 yards, and Moore found the end zone. The defense and tight end positions netted just 2.9 points, though, and that was tough to overcome. Lastly, in what was billed as a battle for first place between the top-ranked multiple scoregasms and host second-ranked the Stellar Bitches at the Temple of SeaTac, this match resembled something a little different. This was more of a lopsided affair than the computers would have hoped for and what we would have hoped for. The Scoregasms came in on the road and remained on top with a 138.28 to 54.44 absolute beatdown over the Stellar Bitches. Josh Allen was once again a star with 317 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, but surprisingly it wasn't the running backs that complimented him. It was the wide receivers, which makes this team a scary opponent to face right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown went all sun god on the bitches with 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bateman added another big play for a 50-plus yard bonus point, collecting 108 yards and a TD, and tight end Darren Waller also scored. The 49ers defense stepped up with just 1 point allowed, 2 sacks, and 3 forced turnovers. On the bitches side, Henry did score, and Bass did have double-digit points as a kicker, but the rest of the team was roughed up, including Gabriel Davis, who dropped a 0 as a late inactive. Things got worse for the bitches as Mike Evans was suspended, leaving them thin at receiver right now. For the multiple scoregasms, they look to be showing signs of the squad that set the all-time league scoring record a few seasons ago. I know it's just week 2, but we seem to already be hitting a stride in both our story and with the league. It's going to be a wild year, to say the least. And that's the content for the show, everyone. Join me again tomorrow for the second part of this episode when we preview the last divisional slate of games until week 12, and we learn more about the next game of the week destination, the Swirling Skies at Hobart Point. Until next time, salut, and check out the updated power rankings headed